Okay, I think we're at a nice number this morning. Again, welcome to our Learn, Grow, Lead session talking about mental stressors. During this time, we wanted to provide continual training by utilizing our Learn, Grow, Lead platform, but instead of being face to face, we are now going to be doing our training virtually through Zoom. So I am going to mute all participants so that we can give our attention to Dr. Woods, and we'll get our session started. Dr. Woods is our presenter for this morning. Dr. Woods holds a PhD in social work from the University of Alabama. She has been an assistant professor here at Austin Peay since August of 2018. Her background with mental health issues makes her an excellent speaker this morning for our topic regarding mental health aspects of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I join you guys to welcome Dr. Collins Woods.
Thank you so much, and welcome everyone. It's so nice to speak with you this morning. I hope everyone had a great weekend and that you were able to take some time for yourself to get some self-care in. And I think it's a really a great thing that Austin Peay is doing to really share insightful information about mental health in ways that we as colleagues can really, shore up our own mental health and make sure that we are strong for ourselves, but also strong for our students, family, and community members. So I'm going to briefly start by talking about stress, because essentially when we start talking about stressors, we really need to understand what stress is. And really, just to give us a working definition, stress is the body's natural response to any particular change. COVID-19 has been a not just a United States change, it's been a global change. And it has impacted many people's lives in terms of their mental health, financially, physically. It has pretty much come in and disrupted what we consider to be normal, quote unquote, if you can use that term. And as it relates to us specifically, if you think about your own life, you can identify ways that COVID 19 has perhaps impacted you. You can think about your work life, whereas we were coming into Austin Peay, you're no longer doing that. So we're now telecommuting, or for the most part, working from home. It has impacted perhaps your spouse, your families, friends, individuals you know may have even been impacted by COVID 19 or are actually trying to, work through the virus. When we look at social media, it's changed the way we receive information. Everything now is an inundation of information about COVID 19. And what that does for us is it provides information to us, but in some respects, it is also creating a sense of stress and anxiety for us because it is a very new experience that many of us have, just frankly have never gone through. In addition to dealing with the pandemic that is COVID 19, we are also still managing our daily lives and trying to figure out how we juggle and navigate these multiple roles as parents, as spouses, as community members, as advocates. All the things that you were doing before have now been compounded by COVID 19. So these things have created a sense of stress in many of us. There are many of us who are living under the sort of the presumption or almost just the experience of being in a state of fight or flight. And when you are working or living through that for an extended period of time, it does increase your level of anxiety. So again, I was stating this is a really good opportunity for the university to provide ways for us to talk about our own mental health. It's not a negative thing. It is important to do because most people in the world are living with some form of mental health disorder or are working through mental health, just whether it's just a basic stress or just basically living with anxiety. So that's kind of just an overview of what stress is and how it relates to sort of COVID-19. We are now dealing with the compounded stress of managing our work lives, home lives, family lives, in addition to really trying to stay safe amid this pandemic. And so in thinking about that, we also understand that when you talk about stress, it's our body's response to a change, right? But some things that are taking place in our society are really triggering us. And I want you to think about your triggers. What is triggering you as you think about working through your mental health, becoming well for yourself, becoming well for your family? What are those things that are triggering you? And I'll give you some examples of the things that I would perceive to be triggering people as we think about COVID-19. The news. We are inundated with news, whether it's print, whether it's coming in social media, whether we're watching it online about COVID-19. I like to watch The View just to, I'm into politics. And they interrupted every single morning with an update from the Tennessee governor, which I appreciate, the Department of Public Health. But you are inundated with information which is vital to our safety, right? And we appreciate that information, but also that can make us feel a sense of anxiety, because now you're like, well, do I wear a mask or don't I wear a mask? What steps do I need to take? Or did I go outside? Did I forget something? So these things sort of arouse a sense of anxiety in us. Social media, if you're a person who's into Twitter or Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, those platforms, everything is about COVID. There are conspiracy theories out there. You're trying to decipher information. So these things can be very triggering for us. Also, not being able to congregate in the same way. Even perhaps not being able to drive into work, or not being able to go to your place of worship, or to a sorority meeting, or to an outdoor function, to a barbecue. Those things provide a sense of community for a lot of people, a sense of relief. And it can be very triggering when there is a complete disruption in what was a level of what provided comfort to you. Also, not being able to come to work. I take pride in my job. I love working at Austin P. I love being able to go grab ice or coffee in the morning and being able to come into my office, or to go to the library, to see my students on campus, or to see my wonderful colleagues. And so for a lot of people, especially those who commute, whether it's 10 minutes or even perhaps an hour, having that opportunity to be able to go to the place where you enjoy, where you've been doing that for so many years, and now not being able to do that can be a very negative experience for a lot of people, because sometimes that daily commute is your me time, it is your self time. And I would like to even say that even sometimes personality type, if you are more of an A-type personality, which is I'm sort of more of an A-type personality, having a disruption or having to change things around, that can also create more of a sense of anxiety. And even for those who may be B or whatever other types of personality, this change with the COVID-19 is causing us to rethink how we live, causing us to adjust, and even those adjustments, knowing that we already had so many other things going on, can trigger us and cause a sense of anxiety. So I was speaking with one of my colleagues at a different university, and she was saying, I'm having a really hard time because I'm an extrovert. I like talking to people. I like going out. I like meeting people. So being in the house, not being able to interact a lot is really making me feel very depressed. And so we do know that anxiety and depression are sort of very much correlated, and so they work hand in hand. And so this leads us to the overarching questions of our presentation today. What can you do to protect and preserve your mental health, and what can you do to manage and or decrease your stressors? And I like to give you 12 recommendations, and I researched this a lot, and I've made this presentation before to other platforms, to other colleagues, or to other people in different spaces, and it's really about finding a place where you can get self-care. So I will start with my first recommendation. The recommendation I really think is important is for all of us, and including myself, is to stop, take a moment, and recognize that you are not alone. Okay, I know right now we feel like we are in a movie and where we are fighting some unseen alien that we do not know, and we feel very defenseless against fighting this pandemic that is COVID-19. But recognize you are not alone. All of the people on this Zoom today, consider this to be your support system, okay? And the people with whom you've already been in touch with, your family, your friends, your community, even people globally, we all care about fighting COVID-19. And so while we may feel very isolated in our homes, we feel sort of estranged, from other people. You have to do this social distancing. You're 6 feet apart. You can't even say hi to people almost in the grocery store anymore. It makes us feel very isolated. Recognize that you are not alone, and recognize that taking a step to address your mental health, to address your anxiety, to talk to yourself and say, you know what, I'm feeling stressed out, is the right thing to do, and it's the perfect thing to do. So give yourself a pat on the back for even doing that. The second recommendation I would give to you, and I take it in myself, is to prioritize yourself. During this season, everything has changed, not just for you, it's changed for your household, it's changed for your children, it's changed the way you work, the way we communicate. Every life as we know it is no longer the same. And in that, we are trying to make these adjustments at work. We're trying to make home adjustments, financial adjustments, because unfortunately, so many people are out of a job, and that's really very, very stressful. But what we can do is try to work on those things that we can control. And we may not be able to control the economy right now. We cannot control, social distancing. We have to do those things to stay safe. But what you can do is prioritize yourself. And what I mean by that is, it is important for you to put yourself at the center. Before you sort of get into your work, before you get into running and doing all these other things that you do, take time at the morning, take time to make time for you. And so this can mean get your exercise in, engage in mindfulness, prayer, whatever it is that you need to do for yourself, whether it's taking a bath, eating something healthy, whatever you need to do, or even just sitting still, make that time for yourself. Because if your life is like my life, I have a schedule and I'm like, all right, I need to do this, and I'm running down the checklist. And before I know it, I'm saying, wow, it's 5 o'clock, and I haven't even stopped to really prioritize myself. So make time for yourself. Recommendation number 3, prioritize your work and home tasks. Right now, everything is sort of blended. Before, you may have had some separation, but we are now working from home. So work is at home and home is at work, okay? And so that's just kind of where we are. But if you can, understand that Rome was not built in one day. You will not be able to accomplish all of your work tasks in one day. You may have a list of 30 things that were on your plate before COVID-19, and now you have 75 that are on your plate as we are going through COVID-19. Truly understand that Rome was not built in one day. You are only one person. It is important to take care of yourself. So prioritize your tasks in the order of importance. For example, if you have items 1 through 5, which are sort of priority items as you go through your list of 20 things, do those tasks perhaps on a Monday and just say, I'll get through items 7 through 10 on a Tuesday or Wednesday, or I'm not responding to student emails at this particular time or to colleagues' emails at this particular time because I'm doing my family work. So if you can, prioritize those things which are most important for your job, but also prioritize those things which are most important for your home and your family life, because those things are now intertwined and both are equally important. And in addition to prioritizing and not trying to take on too many tasks in one day, recognize that you are just one individual and it's only one you. Try to set some boundaries again between your home life and your work life, because now we are all intertwined, and even though you still have to do work, you have to prioritize what's important. There have to be some boundaries, otherwise we'll just we'll be consumed with everything. So again, this may mean carving out a time between 9 to 12 to do homework or activities with your family, spend some me time with your partners, your spouses, or it may mean that you push off work obligations to the evening or to early morning. So you have to know your schedule and know what's working best for you during this time of change, and really set some boundaries, but also, still meet the demands that are required of you. Number 5, that was 4, and this is number 5. I would recommend that you learn how to say no if you struggle with that, and delegate some tasks to others. Sometimes it's very hard for us to say no to our colleagues, to our family members, and when people are asking us, we want to say yes because we really support them, we support what's going on. But right now is a season of change for everyone. Our plates are not just full, they are almost overfilled, okay, with responsibilities and home, work, all those different areas. If you can, delegate tasks to your colleagues or ask for help in the home, do those things because it will help you essentially with stress. It will help you reduce your stress as you go through, as we are working through COVID-19. So if someone comes to you and they say, well, I really, would appreciate if you could, partner with me on this community project, and it's perhaps something new that they are just starting in response to COVID-19. If it's not feasible for your schedule, if you already have a million things going on, it's okay to respectfully decline, or it's okay to make a contribution, or even if you can't make a contribution, if someone is asking you because things have changed financially for a lot of people, it's okay to just be honest with people and respectfully decline. And also in the same area of your work, if there are opportunities for you to perhaps delegate new committee assignments or to ask others to take up a load, perhaps junior faculty or other colleagues who are new, it's okay to do that. So learn how to say no and set some boundaries and delegate tasks to others. Number 6, assess what is traumatizing you. So assess your trauma inputs. And what this means is that I mentioned the news and social media. These things that are sort of in our face all day, all the time, with the news, the social media, just constantly. Sometimes those things can be very traumatic to us. So it is important for you to have a separation from those things. So if you're constantly getting news feed about COVID-19, and it's important to all of us and our safety and our health, but if it is making your anxiety level increase, or if it is triggering you or making you feel very anxious or depressed or extremely stressed out, it is okay to put a healthy separation, okay? It's okay to put your phone on mute or to unfollow or to deactivate and just to step away, because mental health is your priority. Mental health and wellness should be all of our priorities, because if we aren't strong mentally and physically, we can't do our jobs. We can't function in our home. We can't function as women and men in this society. Number 7, excuse me, identify ways to cope. We are not going to really be able to change COVID-19. We can change our behavior to increase safety, to make sure that we are safe, but even admit that people are still getting sick. So we really understand that this is almost out of our hands. We're just waiting on direction from public health officials, those who have the expertise in virus prevention and control, and we're just, all wishing each other well and doing our parts. But there's some things that are just beyond our control at this point. And even in saying that, we can't control everything, so we have to learn how to cope with what's going on in our life. And a lot of times when we are really stressed out or feeling a large sense of anxiety about anything, it is because our coping mechanisms may be off, or perhaps we don't even have coping mechanisms. So identify ways to cope with this crisis that we are experiencing. So it could be you really getting in touch with yourself. What do you like to do? Do you like to dance? Do you like to sing? Do you like to call people up? Do you like to invent, bake, write books? What are those things that make you happy? What are those things that bring joy to your life? Think about those things. What are some of those things that you've perhaps put on the back burner that you've been saying you're going to get back to because it made you feel so happy? If you can do those things within the space of your home or in a safe space, I would encourage you to get back to doing those things, because they are ways that we cope. I will give you an example. When I was in my PhD program at the University of Alabama, it was very, very, very stressful. And toward the end, I realized that I was just all dissertation talk, and my talk was like up here, and I needed to bring it back down to reality. Like, I need to come back down a little bit, because you're in classes so much and you're just engaging in one way. And so I said, I love organic soap. I love organic things of that nature. I learned to make soap. I got on YouTube and I started trying it out. So that was a way for me to cope with the stress of being like in a really intensive doctoral program as I was trying to graduate. My dissertation was very heavy. It was just a lot of work to do. It was very stressed out, but I took my mind away. I made a conscious and intentional effort to switch gears. And when you're making soap and dealing with lye and those things, you have to be very intentional. So I would encourage you to find the thing that makes you happy, find your coping mechanism, and find something healthy. Sometimes we can use substances and things that are not necessarily healthy, and so we want to steer away from that, but find something that is positive, a way for you to positively cope with this situation to the extent that you can. Number 8, use technology to streamline your life. And that sort of goes back to everything we're doing right now. You know, technology can almost seem like a blessing, and then it can seem like it has some disadvantages. But technology is useful in terms of you simplifying your life. Right now, as I mentioned before, life as we know it has changed. So we're going to see more educational programs going completely online, I think. Everything going completely online. I've been doing telehealth appointments with Vanderbilt, which has been a great experience. So use technology to streamline your life to the extent that you can. If grocery shopping creates a sense of stress and anxiety for you because you have to go into the public and you don't know where your mask is, you don't know where your gloves are, or everything is out at Dollar Tree, you can't get sanitizer. Those things are, little irky things that are causing us to be very stressed out. Use the online delivery services if you can, or use the online ordering services. Before COVID-19, I didn't really like to go shopping anyway in the grocery stores, so I'm always using these online services, and I just go and pick up my groceries. And so I do things that way to really help simplify my life. So if you can, use those things to help simplify your life. Alexa, Google Home, these things are helpful to us if you can. And if you're a person who perhaps may be intimidated by technology or not necessarily proficient with it, I would encourage you to step out of your comfort zone a little bit, because now is the time, because life as we know it is changing. And I think over the next 6 months, 12 months, we're going to see an increase demand for everyone to be using and working in online spaces. That is just my personal assessment of the world. Okay. Another thing I mentioned is to detox from social media. And I was kind of mentioning this earlier, but again, it can be very triggering and traumatizing for a lot of people, especially our younger people, because, they've never experienced things like this. We haven't experienced it, but especially for, our college students, and, if you have children who are of a certain age, they really don't know, and if they're into social media, you're just getting so much information. So sometimes that social media outlets can put information out there. Some of it is specified to your interests. It plays on what you like, and it also plays on those things that you fear. And that can create a sense of stress in your lives during this time. It's just like almost when you go shopping and you click on a pair of shoes, but you choose to leave it in your cart. Those shoes are going to keep coming up into your face until you buy it, because technology is, those algorithms are designed to get you to purchase. And to that same extent, they're designed almost to play on those things that cause you a sense of anxiety and stress. So be mindful of what you're looking at. Again, assess your trauma inputs. If it's traumatizing you or triggering you, just be mindful that technology and algorithms sort of work, in a unique way to get us, to stimulate behavior in a certain way. Number 10, exercise. Okay, how many of you have made time to get some self-care in, to exercise? It perhaps may have been a little hard during this season. Okay, Marianne, that's good. A lot of people, that's awesome. Keep doing it. You're inspiring me. Okay, exercise is so important because it helps us to relieve stress. I love to jump rope. I can jump rope really well. My husband taught me how to jump rope really well. And so I plan on going outside today to do some jump roping, but I've been trying to get on my elliptical at home and get 5 miles in, but I have not been consistent. I'll just be honest with you. And I would encourage you, if you can, take a walk, get some yoga in, do something to let your body relieve that stress, because what we'll do, we hold it in our shoulders, in our neck, we get tension headaches, and in our gastrointestinal system. So it impacts our lives in so many ways. So if you can, get some exercise in, whatever your favorite exercise is, start moving so that you can release stress that way. Number 11, my recommendation is to laugh. Ha 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 ha. It may sound very simple, but laughter is truly medicine for the soul. We are all, just in a state of influx because of COVID-19. I don't know what's going on in your lives personally. I wish the very best for everyone. And you don't know what's going on over here. All we see are, faces, but you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes in anyone's life. So really, if you can take time to find something that makes you laugh, whether it's a good read, a good, social media joke, or something, that's all in good spirits, I do think it is important to find a way to laugh during the season, because as we look at the news, we see people dying. We see the numbers are increasing in Tennessee. They're even increasing in Clarksville. Those things make us depressed. They make us stressed out because we want the best for everyone. So if you can find a way to laugh, whether it's connecting with a friend over the phone, do that. And it really sounds simple, but it's really a way for us to take our minds away from things a lot of times. And not that we're pushing COVID-19 to the side or deprioritizing it, because it is a public health crisis, but we have to have a way to laugh and to be able to really, enjoy life, even though we are in a pandemic. And my final recommendation would be for you to find an online support group. Right now, therapy has changed. You cannot, if you are a person who was in therapy before, going to see a therapist, or a mental health professional, those things have really changed. Okay, so I would encourage you to find a support group, or find a way to connect with people who are not telling you negative information or telling you bad information, but people that you trust, and individuals with whom you can confide or share your experiences. Find someone to connect with and really to provide a sense of support to you. As I mentioned before, everyone on this call, we are now our accountability partners for each other. Okay, I'm going to check in with somebody to make sure that you're okay, and I hope you would check in with me to make sure that I'm okay. But if you can, find a person or a group, maybe it's your family members, your neighbors, someone you trust, to talk to, someone who can provide a sense of support to you as you deal with COVID-19, as we all deal with it. And sometimes it's just really about bouncing ideas off other people, or just talking and sharing and saying, hey, today I'm not feeling the best. I'm feeling very stressed out. I'm having a sense of anxiety. And maybe you can go out for a cup of coffee, or do something safe, or take a walk to really, switch gears and to get your mind thinking about the positive things that you have going on in your life, those positive things that we all have going on. So those are really my 12 recommendations, and I hope they have been helpful to you. But again, when we start talking about anxiety and stress and depression, a lot of that really emanates from our thoughts. So if you can think positive thoughts, practice mindfulness, get outside for a few minutes, be safe while you're out, get some exercise, get the wheels to turning into thinking about things other than COVID-19, while not, de-emphasizing the priority of it as a public health crisis, but really thinking new thoughts, thinking positive thoughts. I will survive this. We will be okay. I will be safe. I am protected. I'm loved. I'm cared about. People care about me. That's a way for us to really push through this crisis. And I definitely, applaud Austin P for endeavoring to really talk about mental health and to really prioritize that, because it is so important when right now the world is facing a pandemic, and so many people are stressed out, and so many university students are stressed out. So many colleagues of ours are stressed out. It's a really awesome thing that we have a university that is supportive of mental health and really helping people to talk through and get information about ways that we can manage our stressors. So that is my presentation, and I would love to take questions from you.
Thank you, Dr. Collins Woods. We so appreciate the information you've shared. I also have a PowerPoint that highlights the information that you shared about our 12 tips, kind of our daily dozen. So things like stopping and taking a moment and remembering we are not alone. That is very helpful information. And I'll make sure that these top daily dozens or recommendations are sent out to everyone who is on the call.
Thank you.
We would now like to shift gears. If you have questions that you have for Dr. Woods, or just additional information that you would like to talk with us, there is a chat button on the bottom. If you move your cursor during our Zoom session, there should be an option for chat. and I am going to partner with Fonda Fields for us to go through these questions. You can send them to us via the chat, and we will address those and make sure that Dr. Collins Woods can ask questions for us. And let me make sure I have unmuted. There we go. Technology. Thank you for being patient with us as we also navigate a new skill. When you talked about technology, navigating a new skill of utilizing Zoom for our events.
I think I'm unmuted. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Collins Woods, so much for that presentation. It was well needed during this time of pandemic. And like Kyla said, if anybody has any questions or any thoughts you can share with us about how you're coping with this pandemic, we'd love to hear that right now. So Kyla's giving you all directions on how to put that information into the chat room. And let me open it up here. All right, I've just unmuted everyone, and if you all would just like to step in and talk with us and tell us how you're coping with this.
I'd like to just say one thing, if you don't mind. We have been saying...
Give us your name, please, and what
I'm sorry, I'm Cheryl Berardo. Hi, Ms. Fields. And I work for Trio Student Support Services. I love it. But anyway, I just wanted to add one thing that I think collectively as a staff, I think it's a really good show. But we say now during this epidemic time that we are now working from home. Well, what I like to say, certainly I've gotten this from a few meetings, that during this crisis, we are trying to work from home.
Good
so it's
point.
not so much, it's not, we're working from home. It's at this time during this crisis, we are trying to work at home. So I think it puts it in a whole new light, that we certainly want to help all of our students. We want to be that significant change to cross over into what we're dealing with. So I don't like saying that we are working from home. I think, I don't want to, I just like how that's said, during this crisis, we are trying to work from home. And it's just something that I feel in my heart. And I think all of us should know that.
Absolutely, Cheryl. I agree with you. I think language is definitely important for us as we work through the nuances of figuring out COVID-19. What is the right way to say things? How do we say things? And how do we communicate in a way that is effective but also impactful to let people know that while, the assignment is now shifted, we still have other obligations. And so, please be sensitive if I'm not responding to messages in the way that you think I should. And I think that's definitely a good thing to bring to our attention. And I will take that to note moving forward. I've also been sharing with my students as well, please give your faculty members a little grace. Because, we're faculty members and staff, but it's also impacted our lives as well, So very good comment.
I think one of the things that, for me, that's been helpful is to not put so much pressure on myself. To have this pressure of, okay, well, you're home, so you probably should be doing more, and I think it was this whole thing in my head that, oh my God, I have all this extra time because I'm home. But then I'm like, wait a minute, I have a 2-year-old.
Right.
I have a husband. He works from home. We're both trying to work from home, trying to tag team. It didn't work because he's like, wow, you have meetings all day. Okay, you 2 to 3, you 3 to 4. It just didn't work.
Right.
And so it became more stressful working from home because they were trying to figure out that balance. Finally came to the point where he's like, okay, here it is. 8 to 4:30 you, 4:30 to 12 me, but you have this thing in your head that people from work from home kind of have this luxury.
Right.
That's good.
I want to go back to work.
Right. Right.
And, but I will say I think I shared this with my team, is that the one thing that I got out of this is see my 2-year-old do things throughout the day that I do miss while I'm at work.
Wow, that's good. That's awesome. Well, I think it is important what you just mentioned, having though a set time frame, because things will very quickly intertwine, and you're putting things down or deprioritizing family and prioritizing work. And it's really important to have a, if you can find a time for all of us, some sort of separation, boundaries, and balance, because the last thing you want is for any of us is to have our families, not be in a place where we're happy there, or, work is done, but home life is not so good, or vice versa. So it's really, important what you mentioned, to not put so much pressure on yourself. And I think it is really important for all of us to, find that balance that works well for our unique lives.
Other thoughts from anybody else?
One thing I just want to add is please make sure that you take lunch.
Yes.
People are working through lunch, and I myself was guilty of that. But unplug like for a true hour. You're entitled to that, and it's okay to just close your laptop, move the computer, and have some lunch, and even unplug at the end of the day at 4:30. That first week, my whole team, I had to yell at Fonda yesterday via email, say, stop working over the weekend. I just think you have a work day. And I think, to Dr. Wood's point, is you can't let it become so integrated that it's a blur. So stop at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, the latest, if you have to. If you have classes, that's different. But also take that lunch break. Take that hour to yourself.
Right. Absolutely. It is so important.
Dr. Collins Woods, it's a big holiday for my family, so this Sunday will not be good. I'm used to going and visiting my parents and having a big with family, so this will be a hard one. But I mentioned to my husband, we'll just go get some more expensive takeout. Maybe we'll do just trying to, like Dr. Collins Woods says, put some laughter in it, and just trying to get through this. But I do realize that it is Easter Sunday, and people are used to that being a good holiday for us. So it'll be different to see how we manage that this weekend.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting, because a lot of people are sad. A lot of people are, even going to be triggered by that, not being able to see relatives and family members who they perhaps are used to. So many traditions are now being reinvented. I don't want to say disrupted, but we're going to have to reinvent how we, interact with each other. How are we going to do family reunions if COVID isn't, over by the summer, or what's going to happen with people's deposits? So there's so many different things that have been going through my mind about this. The upcoming holiday is definitely important for many people, and so it's a time where everyone is thinking of unique ways to still stay in touch. And definitely social media and platforms like Zoom and Skype, they're definitely important, and FaceTime. But we also have to think about those individuals in our family members and community members who don't have access to technology, those who live in rural areas. I'm from the Mississippi Delta, and I know many people, you would think that everyone has a cell phone or everyone has the internet access, and everyone does not. So it's important for us to also remember that everyone doesn't have the same access to technology that we might have. Good point, Fonda.
Thoughts, questions for Dr. Collins Woods? Well, we appreciate so much you all joining us on the Zoom call. This was our first one, so we were really excited about it, and we thank you all for joining. Please check our Learn, Grow, Lead page. We have some additional webinars coming up. We're going to continue to keep these going while we are all working, or as Cheryl said, trying to work from home. We're going to continue to bring you all webinars and workshops that will be helpful to you all. So continue to look, and we appreciate it so much. You all have a good rest of the day. And look forward to talking to you all soon.
And please prioritize yourselves. Thank you so much. Prioritize you. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.